to another edition of the Metal Voice, and today we're going to review some of our favorite releases, recent releases.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the first release also comes with some bad tidings. It's The Last in Line, Heavy Crown.
Yeah.
Formed by the original members of Dio, Jimmy Bain, Vivian Campbell, Vinny Appice,
Claude
Chanel, who doesn't appear on the album, or
I don't know. Somehow there was, he was kicked out of the band.
Unfortunately, with the Def Leppard cruise, Jimmy Bain passed away on the cruise himself. He was suffering from pneumonia. Vivian Campbell said he was sober at the time, so it should not be any kind of drug-related death.
Yep.
And during the cruise itself, they went in the cabin, and poor Jimmy had passed away. So they don't know. They had a whole bunch of tour dates lined up, and then of course the album was just released. With heavily anticipated album.
Yep.
So the band's kind of in a hiatus. There's talk of Jeff Pilson, the great Dacian foreigner bassist vocalist, who produced the album, coming in and maybe filling Jimmy's shoes on the tour, because like I said, the tour dates are set up and they really don't know what they're going to do. So we're going to review the album right now.
So right off the bat, Alan, does this album sound like the classic 3 albums by Dio?
I would say there's at least 2 or 3 songs, yes. The rest, for me, it kind of falls in the melting pot of a lot of what we're hearing today.
Yeah.
So, but the first video, the first release was Devil in Me.
Great song.
That's classic Dio sound. Vivian Campbell, the way the drums come in, you got that heavy beat. I think Andrew Freeman, who's the vocalist, he did a great job on the lyrics on this album. There's a very interesting lyrics to listen to.
I love Vivian Campbell's guitar tone. I mean, that's the leftover from the classic, that classic sound of Dio.
Jimmy Bain wrote a lot of the melodies. Anybody that was on the Def Leppard cruise or had the chance to watch kind of a little dedication to Jimmy Bain. Vivian Campbell told a lot of great stories. And exactly how Jimmy Bain wrote a lot of the melodies for this album.
Sure.
Getting just a quick tribute to Jimmy Bain, of course, with Rainbow fame, Wild Horses with Brian Robertson, and then of course Dio, the guy that struggled with some of drugs over the years, but Vivian was firm that he was sober at the time of his death. He was suffering from pneumonia. Nobody's getting younger, and it's probably circumstantial to that. He would not quit. He wasn't a quitter. Most people would not have backed out and not toured, but he wanted to be there. He was so proud of this album and so proud of this band. He wanted to be there to perform. So, Jim, some of the highlights for you. You had the Starmaker.
Yeah, Starmaker. There you go. I mean, that is probably one of the best tracks on the album. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the vocals, okay, but I know a lot of people are. It's just a question of taste. I think the guy can definitely sing. I don't know, I just find it's just sort of like that tone. You've heard it before, but nevertheless, still a very solid, strong album, solid vocals, and Vinny Appice and the whole band is like just excellent.
It's a strong overall album. I guess everybody, it's hard to fill the shoes of the original dynamic. They've done their best, but for me, some of the songs just fall off into something a little bit more generic, the stuff that we're hearing, if it's either through Resurrection Kings or other bands that are out there in a similar fashion. There's nothing besides the tracks that have that classic sound. The rest kind of fall into that. So I'll leave it at that. For me, it's an 8 out of 10, Jim.
I would say 8 out of 10. Yeah,
all right. Absolutely. Now let's go to another album that I've been listening to. Primal Fear with Rulebreaker.
Yeah.
Jim, Primal Fear is kind of a band I've flirted with, listened here and there. Nothing too exciting, that's just me, that's just my impression, but until this album, Rulebreaker, early candidate for our top 10 list of 2016 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix of Accept and Judas Priest, right, with a lot of melody. That's what this album is.
But it's really, for me, this is a much groovier album. The drums and it's got a certain swing to it, a groove to it. It's not all out there high vocals. It's got some really strong sounds. It's like the Motorhead, The World Is Ours. It's more of a kind of a classic rock and roll sound than more than a true metal sound. It's got that rock and roll swing to it. So
very melodic. I mean, very catchy. I mean, I don't know, man. Overall, my first impression, I've heard it a few times. I'm really digging it. I really think it's a very strong album, and I think it's definitely something people should check out. They're getting better over time, Primal Fear.
Well,
they've been around like 11 albums.
That's right.
These guys have been around You know, they're
experienced musicians.
Yeah, they keep getting better. I mean, so yeah, go check it out. Go buy it. Definitely a good buy. I'd give it like maybe an 8.6 out of 10. What do you think?
I'm going to go as high as 9 out of 10.
Whoa!
It's an early candidate for our top 10 list for sure. I'm sure we'll see this listed at the end of the year. So, and another band that's opening for Primal Fear in Europe right now is one of our favorite bands, Striker, right from Alberta's own, right from Canada here.
Yep.
And Jim, what do you think of the new album, which is Stand in the Fire?
Alan, you gave me a call, and you go, Jimmy, you got to check out the new Striker album. I mean, I was going to listen to it, but then, you know, once Alan gives me the call, then I definitely put it on. I put it on, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. What a great album. They have definitely stepped it up since their last album, City of Gold. Like we were talking about prior to the show, it's speed, it's thrashy, it's melodic, it's classic, just like Armed to the Teeth, but more intense. Their last album, I wasn't a big fan of City of Gold. I know a lot of people love that sort of thrash, speed metal aspect to it. Not for me. I was more of an Armed to the Teeth kind of guy. I love that album, and I think this album is just as strong, and perhaps it might even be stronger.
Armed to the Teeth for me, Jim, was you know, with Michael Wagner production, and you know, it's a very well produced, great sounding album with great songs. City of Gold for me was kind of a step back. They went more in a harsher, more thrash kind of and the production for me was a bit lacking. I think this is a great comeback. Have they peaked with Armed to the Teeth? I mean, this is a strong release. You've got some of the songs like Out for Blood, the second track has a killer sax solo. That's not something you can see every day.
I was asking you, Alan, is that a sax?
It's almost like a guitar solo. It's a fantastic. Too Late's got that kind of 80s feel that we hear from White Wizard and a few other bands out there. Stand in the Fire, where there's the big choruses that a Striker is known for. Iron Never Lies, that's a classic metal build-up where it goes down slow during the bridge and it builds itself back up with a big chorus.
Phoenix Lights, the way to start the album. Wow!
Yeah, it's a great opener, that's for sure.
Intense.
So Canada's own Striker, they're out there opening for Primal Fear in Europe right now. Then they're going to be touring South America and Mexico in the month of March. So get out there and check them. They're a great live band. I had the occasion to see them live.
I did an interview with them.
Great vocals. You can check out our interview with them after the show. Right after the show, it's on one of our previous episodes. And again,
what would you rate it, Alan?
I think this is a strong 8.5 out of 10.
Whoa, 8.5. I would put it more at 9. Then again, it's my first impression. 9 out of 10. I think it's very good. These guys are great. I mean, they need more exposure.
So there's 3 new releases just came out. We're excited about. We wanted to share with you. So check them out as soon as you can. And thanks for watching the Metal Boys.